them all. I hope you hear these words. I ain't here to flip no birds or sip no serve. Hope the future generations can get this urge. Stay woke, youngin', and avenge these nerds.
Phone.
The nerds are back. It is Tuesday.
I feel like I'm super dark.
You're not dark.
There we go.
You're good. There you go. Got the light.
Little
What's up,
lighter.
everybody? Tuesday nights, throwdown. It's your boy Sebastian.
It's your boy Law.
And your boy Tone from across the hall.
With the one, the only.
B Mac, how you guys doing?
We're so
You're good.
I'm excited this week.
Yeah, we got a good episode
Excited.
today. We got a little bit of creative series, a little bit of Batman. This might have a little bit of D&D in it.
I'm so happy today. Like it is. It feels good to be a Batman fan today. I don't know what it is.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. It is.
Yes.
We're gonna get into it. We are going to get into
I'm
we are
so
going.
excited.
We are going to get into it. First things first. We want to get some announcements out the way, and then we want to get our guest out and talk to him about his awesome series that he came out with, and it deals on a very great subject for us. D&D. It was pretty much influenced by that. So yes, I can't wait to get him out here to talk to him more about that.
George is
what's
early.
up,
He's
George?
ready.
George is ready for it, but and after we're done talking about this awesome series that this creator has created, we're going to then deep dive into the Batman.
I'm sorry.
Wait, did George just say,
man
what?
man needs to be excommunicated and banned.
George, we're
from our
not
show.
friends. George, we're not friends anymore.
I don't know.
He's joking.
I hope he's joking. I really hope he's
I
like
hope he's joking.
he's being.
Like,
You know,
Did he watch the same movie we saw? I don't understand.
I don't know.
George, I'm gonna come for you.
okay,
Bro.
okay. No, he's joking. He's joking. He's joking.
All right, so announcements really quickly. So last week I got to guest star and Catch the Craze. Go catch that on their channel. That was old. We had a great time. Me, Sam, and George. Law was recently on Rich Dresden's channel, Dresden Media. It was for Black History Month. They were he was on there with a couple of other creators. Again, it's a dope show. You guys want to go back, check it out on Dresden Media on their Facebook channel. Medusa's Cascade comes out every Saturday. So again, it's dropping.
We're every Tuesday.
we're in 60 episodes, about to hit that 70 mark in this D&D campaign that has been going on for almost like 2 years already.
Yeah.
Second thing, was there anything else? No, I mean that's it. Make sure you catch Law on his Twitch channel and stay tuned for more.
I am on a brief hiatus from Twitch because I am working on Session Season 2 with Demetrius. So I'm taking a little step back, but I will be back in no time.
But now, so we're gonna get into our first segment because again, we want to talk to this awesome creator behind his comic book series called Crit, which is also Crit on its Kickstarter, meaning that yes, they have got fully funded, so they wrote a nat 20 on that.
Man, what a segue, man! I like that. That was what a good segue.
Are we so proud of him?
Let's go, man.
I'm growing.
Good job.
But anyway, no, it's also to have him on here. Again, he based this comic on his D&D campaign with his friends and everything. And again, if there's anything that people have known, I've been talking about how D&D is a great writing tool. But here to tell you about that is the one, the only Christopher Michael. Chris, what's up?
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on? I love the D&D show already.
Entrance.
The glass breaking and all that, and then there's magic bullets all over the place.
But thank you so much. That was awesome. I was getting pumped up about myself. That was great. Yeah, I'm a D&D fan. If you can't see my bookshelf here, and I'm a giant Batman fan. So we can talk about that if you like to, because
nice.
That's my lovely wife, who my wedding band, which we were at the gym, so I don't wear it at the gym, is it's a silver or white gold, whatever, with Batman symbols in it, and in every Batman symbol she got me it's a diamond. That was what she got me when we got married. So that's how big of a Batman fan I am. So I would love to talk some Batman.
Let's go.
Yes, let's have it.
I'm a huge D&D Batman nerd and Star Wars. You throw those three things together, and that's
man, you fit right in over here.
You stack on
That's our world.
So
Star Wars, Batman, and D&D is all right here.
Yeah,
are you the forever DM or forever player?
I was a forever player, and I wanted my forever DM to be able to play. So I became the DM.
Nice.
And for about 2 campaigns, I was the Padawan. Actually, if you ever read my book, the character Caliber is my forever DM. And so what's sad is we will never be able to play a game together, which would be utter chaos, because one of us always has to DM. And so we've been like quietly searching for a person that could DM both of us. It would be kind of hard. You know, if you ever DM a DM, it's hard, you know?
I got a guy I could hook you up with.
We
have multiple guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I might need to talk to you because he's recently single, which gives him more time to play.
that it would.
So what made you? Because again, you said that this was based off of a homebrewed D&D campaign. When was it that you knew that campaign was something you wanted to turn into a comic? What led to the creation of Crit right there from the campaign?
The very first session we had.
Wow.
I said, I'm going to turn this into a comic, and no one believed me. They thought that I was going to do something for us, which originally it was. It was just for the group, you know, because what better way to get your players to come back than to give them. I'm a salesman, all right? I'm a salesman. I've been in sales for 20 years. If you want someone to come back to you and purchase from you, you're going to put something in their hand, right? Mm-hmm. So I was going to put the campaign in their hand, and that way I knew we would play every month. And I said, okay, cool. Well, I don't know how to draw. I had some talent in it. I had done art in my life, and I picked up I had a tablet at home, and I just started sketching out the campaign. And I came like a couple months later, and I was like, hey, we got this book now. I never released it, but that's a whole other story. And they're like, oh, that's cool, right? And my wife, she's in the comments, she's a fantastic artist, blows me away. And I let her read the first book. And, mind you, I'm going to preface this. I had about 3 or 4 months worth of work into the 17-page book. Never did comics before, never did anything. Every panel was a recreation of our game. And the nerd inside of me was so excited to show my wife the hard work I had. And she goes through, she reads it. We're laying in bed. She had paused the TV. She hands me back the tablet. She turns the TV on. She's like, it's good. I was like, or no, she said, it's okay. Wow. It's okay. It's not even good. It's okay. And my heart was like crushed for a moment. And I got to tell you too, my wife was like my best friend for 11 years and the girl that I like pined over for 11 years, right? We had been married maybe 2-3 years at this point. I could be wrong. I apologize if I am. It was like 2-3 years we're married. And the first like creation I have in our marriage is it's okay. And so the next day I get the tablet out. I get my new iPad, and I'm sketching and I was like, what do you think of this? And she's like, well, that looks like his leg's broken. You got to do this. And then she starts erasing everything and starts drawing over top of it. And I learned real quick, well, if I want to be good, I got to take this. And I took every bit of, critique that she gave me, and that became book 1.
That's dope.
And, I through book 3, she was every page doing something. And now I'm book 5. I'm 6 books in, but I have like an issue 0, right? On book 5, she has adjusted one ankle. And that's a very proud moment for me. She is extremely talented. She'll give me ideas. I bounce things off of her, and I think it's great to have her to utilize and really lean on. She is now an editor in the book because she's put so much work into it. But day one, when I said to everybody, I'm going to turn our campaign into a comic, they just didn't think anything of it. And I think that's because if you've ever played D&D, it's always said at the table, this should be a book, this should be a TV show, this should be a comic book. It's always said, and I was just the guy that did it, and they didn't think I would. And we just had like a recent interview with everybody, and they were like, yeah, we didn't think he would do it, but he did. And now I drag them into, live shows all the time and make them talk about their characters, which is
I love that.
You'll love to see it.
So yeah, playing in the D&D today, I can see how that is and everything because again I keep telling people D&D is a great creative tool. It forces you to kind of think outside the box in some ways, and when you're playing with a group of people, shenanigans happen. That is like, dude, I couldn't have thought of that to write that down.
and
You never plan it,
chance, because you've got to succeed the role. And what I really liked about using D&D for superheroes is that there are rules, right? And I've checked out a lot of stories. I'm a huge sci-fi. I'm a huge anything real fiction-y fan, and a lot of creators fail to remember their rule sets that they've placed on their universe. We won't talk about the sequel trilogy breaking rules that have been around for decades. Go there. But that was part of my inspiration when I went into this was, okay, as a super fan of a lot of things I've seen broken over the years, what don't I want to have happen? And one thing is, if I create a rule, I can't break that rule. D&D has those. They're set, okay? Like it's a world building tool right there. Thousands of pages. And so that's where it really intrigued me to try and put superheroes into that world where you can't just fly into the sun to get power. I mean, it's not going to work because I can say, no, I'm the DM. No, that doesn't work. You can't do that. And then I think because people have asked me before, like, how did you, like, when you opened up your D&D book, what made you think of using it? And that's really what comes to mind is there's rules. I can limit my players because without being, without having a favorite, character in my book, or like I might lean towards one or the other. They still have to follow this set of rules that it's on paper, and they still have to roll the die to see if it happens.
Yeah, there's always that chance. And then so everything is homebrew, and you as the DM and you're creating a superhero story. Did you also homebrew all of these classes and using the 5e like model to kind of go through everything?
Yeah, we have over, I think we're reaching about 700 hours of balancing.
Wow.
I love Magic Missile though. I really do. I think it's a great spell. I took a lot of those rules. So I should go into this. When I came up with the idea for superheroes in D&D, it actually came from Spider-Man PS4. I know that's a complete offshot, right? But I'd been playing Spider-Man, and I realized that my Spider-Man was different than, say, somebody else's because you had all these different customizable options. And that made me think of D&D because my character in D&D, whether I'm a rogue or a barbarian, I've played enough and I've talked to so many people that my characters were always different, no matter if we played the same exact class. And I was like, well, that's kind of like superheroes. I could have everybody be superheroes, but their superhero is going to be different. And it just got these gears rolling. And I remember I was in the gym and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to ask the guys. And the thing is, a lot of us hadn't talked in like 10 years. But when we were playing, it was every Sunday, pizza and D&D, right? And Brad and I were Caliber, my forever DM. Him and I had been playing forever. We never stopped. But the other guys, marriage, careers, kids, like all these different things happen. And I asked Brad first. I said, "Do you think this is a good idea?" And he's the guy that chops all my stuff in half and says, "No, that's stupid. You can't do that. That goes against the rules."
Need that.
He's been playing since he was like 5 years old, and he can quote like D&D first edition to you. Wow. Like he's a wealth of knowledge. And so I start telling him some of he's like, "Yeah, we could balance it. We can make that work." And we were originally going to use 3.5 to do it, but then I switched to 5th because a lot of guys hadn't played in 10 years. And 5th is very accessible, right? Like it's very streamlined. It's very accessible. And I said, well, if we're going to do this, let's base it off 5th edition and give them a more entry level campaign because I don't want them to be intimidated by the math again. Like
math rocks.
Right. It's tough. Although I love the micro. it's still for guys that we get together once a month. It's a lot to keep track of. And so we went with 5th edition, and I just homebrewed all these random classes. And so if you read issue 0, you see, the Ant-Man Captain America blend I did, and they just didn't really like the classes, which is portrayed with costumes in the book. So they were like, oh, let's change it to this. And for the first few issues, actually, we went back and forth on a few different power sets. You don't really experience it as a reader, but and that's like in a lot of D&D campaigns, you're playing things out, right? And we settled on, well, the first one to ever change was originally Boulder wanted to be Captain America kind of character. He wanted to play the good guy, but he wanted these batons, and he wanted a shield, and I was like, okay, so we build all this stuff, and then he's like, nah, I think that's stupid. I'm like, well, what do you want to do? Have you ever seen My Hero Academia? No, I don't. What is that? Well, I want to be All Might. I want to be a black All Might. That's what he said. He's like, I want to be a black All Might. And I said, I don't know what an All Might is, but we'll figure this out. And, Brad did know, and he goes, oh, it's like, he's like, it's a monk barbarian, pretty much. He goes, that's the easiest way to explain it. I said, nice. Okay, we can. I'm like, it's broken as crap, but we can make it work, And so I go and I'm watching My Hero Academia, and I call Terrell, and I'm like, this is the guy you want to be? Like, you're the soldier guy that likes guns and things, and we played Mass Effect, and this dude taking a belt of grenades off and throwing it. That's the guy I'm used to. Or we used to do, him and I used to try and out stupid each other. I want to take the knife to the big giant monster, and I want to do a backflip over the top and fire three rounds into him when I'm doing mid backflip. That's what we used to do. But now he wants to be the punchy character, and I was like, do you really want to? He's like, I want to play this guy like if Eddie Murphy had become All Might. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing.
That's great.
And I said, hey, if this is your game, right? I always treat it like it's the player's game, it's not the DM's game. I've played games where it's the DM's game and they're not fun to me, right? If I'm going to spend my time and build my character, I want to do what I want to do, And so I said, all right, fine, we'll build this. I start, Googling and looking everything up, and we're balancing it. I'm literally, we're still changing crap. He texted me today and said, hey, can I do this? And I'm like, oh, Jesus, yes, dude. So he was the first one to really get the homebrewed balancing act, because Brad is such a good DM that he homebrewed an entire Mass Effect campaign for us, on paper, right? Oh. So I go to him and I say, hey, next month I want to scrap all these classes and I want to build new ones. And he's like, dude, that's hours of work. You realize that? And he goes, we work. We can't do that. I'm like, well, let's just build the first 5 or 6 levels, we don't need a ton. We can know where we're going to go with it, but this stuff's probably going to change, and we don't even know how long we're really going to play, but let's get at least the ball rolling on some of these classes. And so we spend 4 or 5 hours one night working on them. And, that's been that was that for a while. And then comic came out and we knew the direction of everything, and we finally settled into the game right around where the book I'm releasing right now. About 5 months we had settled into the characters, and he comes in, he goes, all right, I'm rebuilding half of these. And he said it, and it took 3 or 4 months to finally get them. But finally we had this set thing. And then when he found out that I wanted to release it to the public, with the comic, I was like, hey, we should do some classes. We should release it. People might want to play their version of Boulder or Caliber, And he goes, oh, we're not doing that unless it's balanced. He goes, so we need to play test it, and then we need to play test it again, and then we're going to play test some more, and then I'm going to go back to the drawing board. And so I've asked him every Kickstarter, could I put it in there? No, it's not ready yet. Dude, we're only 5 levels. We're level 15. Come on, not ready yet.
They're level 15. At this point right now, they're level 15.
Yeah, not in the book, but in our game. I'm 36 books written right now. We've played we're going into our 4th year playing this game.
Oh,
nice,
awesome.
Yeah, nice.
And
that's content.
It is, dude. I mean, I'm so excited to get to those, but what's awesome about it is like the book we're working on right now, we still talk about stuff that happened, and that was like 3 years ago that session happened, and we still talk about the joke. The line in the book that sticks out is, "If the cream is sour, do not devour." A character eats tacos and he's trying to distract people, so he pretends that he's sick and he's rolling around on the ground, and another character just randomly threw out the line, "If the cream is sour, do not devour," and he starts rolling with it. He's like, "If the cream is sour, do not," he's rolling around. And,
That's great.
we were trying. We was all. I have the recording. We're cracking up on this recording, and every session there's one of those moments, right? And I'm sure you guys play D&D. It's like every session you get that moment that you talk about until the next session. And when that first session happened, we talked for a month about what happened that first game, and that's why I said I've got to do something with this, because it might be another 10 years till we get to do this again. And when we were playing the Homebrewed Mass Effect campaign, we actually still talk about the cool stuff we did then, 10 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no way that I wanted to go and not have some kind of memory of this, because, and going down to like the human emotional level on it, it was a healing thing for me, because I had gone into like a really dark part of my life. I had lost my mom 1 year, lost my job. I had been in like limbo work-wise for a few years. I had started new careers and I kept switching, and I'd been working since I was 12. And I was just really unhappy. And I was forced to make a decision at work. I could either, go to Texas for a year and not see my family. And I have, at the time my daughter was 8, which not seeing your kid for a year, that doesn't sound really appealing. Or I could be unemployed. And my wife and I decided that, let me be unemployed for a little bit. But then when that happened, I felt like a complete failure. And so I just had all these emotions, and I was still dealing with the death of my mom and all this stuff. And it was like a healing thing for me to get my guys back together and play D&D. And seeing them after 10 years play like we had 10 years prior after not seeing each other, Terrell called me after the first session and was like, "Dude, that wasn't weird." And I'm like, "Yeah, why would it be?" He goes, "Well, I don't know." He's like, "I haven't talked to Obi in 10 years or Brad." He's like, "The last time I spoke to you was a few years ago at my bachelor party, And I had like randomly showed up at his house one day, because that's just who I am. He lives 2 hours away. I just happened to be somewhere near him, and I was like, "Hey, I used to live here." And when we were playing it was very therapeutic for me, and I know that that for them it was as well. So like, because they had told me like, "Man, this felt really good to get back together with you guys." And there's parts in our lives where in the past 2 years when I've been working on this comic book, where we've gotten fan art or a review or something, and one of us has had a bad day, and that fan art comes in or that review, or somebody likes something that we did, and they're like, "Hey man, I had a really bad day." Like, one of my players is he's like a federal detective. He does weird stuff for the DMV and things. Like he deals with.
We know a few of those people.
Yeah, like he's an officer, but he deals with like people, not like he's not like a street cop. I don't know how to explain it without talking about his job, which isn't my place. But he deals with some pretty bad stuff, and it can be depressing, and he can have bad days, dealing with that. And he called me one day. I was like, "Man, like I had a bad day, but this just really made my day." He's like, "I just smiled, right?" And you can't replace that feeling. And I think as like a creator of all this, that's the best feeling to me, is knowing that like I'm able to give something back to my friends. And the guy who plays Terrell, at Boulder, Terrell, he called me and said, "Hey, I gotta be a superhero now." He's like, "My kids are looking at this book and like I don't look like that." He's like really in shape now. He asked me, he's like, "Hey, can you help me out? I did bodybuilding for a few years." He's like, "Can you help me out with a diet? Like me and my wife want to get in shape." He's like, "I want to look like Boulder." And he did it. He dropped the weight. He's in shape. I got him a custom pair of Boulder Dash shoes for Christmas.
Oh, that's awesome.
you know, we don't make money off this stuff, so and they put a lot of time into it, and I know that I drag them into it a lot, and I'm like, well, hey man, I'm gonna give you custom Boulder Dashes for Christmas, and you know, that's the stuff that means more than anything is seeing the look on my friend's face when they get that, you know, just a fan art or hey, I like your character, because you're not liking their character, you're liking them. Because when I pitched the campaign to them, I said, you get superpowers. These players and these characters are not characters we made up. They're playing themselves in situations. And I think that's even cooler is that you like my friends, you know?
Yeah. I like, yeah. No, go ahead. No, I was because I want to show some of the artwork here too and everything where you're talking, because I love hearing your story, because it's like, I don't know, like when we all got together and Tommy started DMing for us, it was literally a month before the pandemic hit and we went into lockdown.
Yeah,
so it's like hearing your story and all that, you and your friends and everything. It's like it is true. It's like, you know, when people like you, you start seeing fan art of. It's like you're seeing fan art of yourself because you're putting so much of yourself in the characters sometimes. But your artwork is phenomenal in those books, bro.
So the issue 0 was actually a gift. I had made friends with an artist down in Australia when I was working on book 2, and he had done some fan art, and he was sending me stuff back and forth, and I found out he was drawing on a phone. I had a Samsung tablet, a very, very nice tablet I just wasn't using, and so I put together some funds with some other creators that he had done some work for free, and I shipped him the tablet, and I said, hey, stop drawing on your phone. You know, this is the nicest Samsung tablet you can buy right now. I had an iPad that I was using. And I said, you know, take this instead. And his way of saying thank you was he did an entire book for me. I was able to raise some funds for him through crowdfunding it and, you know, give him some money back for it. But that issue 0, I can't take credit for the art. I wrote it, but I didn't do the artwork. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and now 5 are all me. I get a colorist because I had to teach myself how to draw. I couldn't just teach myself how to do the amazing colors either. But my pride and joy is the cat, because trying to learn how to draw a cat and then put a hat on him and then make him smoke cigars and drink alcohol on top of it. Like, I love it. You can't just go, hey cat, you know, drink alcohol. Let me see what it looks like when you're drunk. You just can't do that.
Right.
No, but it's again, even with what you guys have done and then the colorists and everything, just in general, this being based off of a D&D campaign, like I said, it's D&D is a great creative outlet. It's a great bonding outlet with friends and everything, and it's just, you know, overall having fun. And before you know it, you guys have created some amazing content, and you got a fan of me.
Thank you.
As someone who has recently put on the DM hat and gone from the forever like multiple player to now the DMC, what is one of those moments that you've had that maybe showed up in the comics, or just you're waiting to put in the comic, where you're like, these guys are fucking pure chaos? I did like they like you give them something and they pull something from way out of left field, and you're like, fuck it, I'm throwing all my notes away and I'm just gonna run with it. Like this is better than I could have hoped for.
There's a scene in like every book. So let me think about. So book 1, right?
Okay. There's
a scene where, and my DM style has grown quite a bit since my first book, because of how these guys were. I built this dungeon crawl, mind you. Like D&D 5th edition isn't built in a modern world, so trying to build a modern dungeon crawl, what do you use? You use a warehouse, right? And so they go to this warehouse, and I've set it up for this gang leader to be there. And I gotta say, I based the gang leader off a guy that we all didn't really, you know, like. It was actually the first DM that ever DM'd me. And he gave us the characters. We were level 20, but we never rolled. Or no, sorry, we rolled a D20 and that was it. Okay, it was very, very weird. And he would tell you what you could do or what your character did. Like he narrated everything, and it was such a bad. And he gave me
railroaded you guys.
What?
He railroaded you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we would want to do stuff, and he always had like a DM insert character that would ruin it. and I'm not going to say the character's name in case he ever watches this, but it's in the comic book. But anyway, and he inserts this dude who is invincible, but he's a vampire, and then he put this on a spaceship in one of these sessions. Like we always switched to different, like we were in Resident Evil world one day, and he's always moving us around. And one of the situations, we all had different like I had power of body, one guy had power of mind, one guy had like power of like knowledge and technology, like your basics, like you some of the similar things we have in Crit, and it fit our personalities, but he didn't let us be ourselves. And so like the tech guy goes up to a really old computer and he's like, I want to hack into this, and he goes, you don't have the right cables. What do you mean I don't have the right cables? I'm the tech guy, right? Like I as a person have these cables in a box in my house, right? Because you just don't want me to, because you know I'm going to ruin whatever you're trying to do. That game ended, and I'm going to ask before I say anything bad, like the language, is that a problem on this?
Go for it.
Go for it. Kids are in bed.
So Brad and this was the first session him and I ever played. He's a forever DM. He's the one that taught me to play. He had the power of mind. So he was essentially like a scion, right? And I'm like, all right, so we're fighting this giant monster, which is supposed to apparently like be tough for us. I was like, wait a minute. So I have the power of body, and I can change my body to whatever I want, right? I can extend. I'm He-Man and Mr. Fantastic and all these different things all in one. Yeah, you are. Okay. And I'm talking to Brad. I'm like, Brad, you go before me. You rolled before me. So what I want you to do is I want you to hypnotize the animal, the big giant bull, like it was like a Tarask kind of thing. And I'm like, so I want you to hypnotize him and keep him hypnotized. He's like, okay, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to go behind him. And I'm like, so I get, I roll on my turn. I'm like, so I get to go behind him. He goes, yeah. So what are you going to do? I'm like, all right, I want to get like right up behind him, and I want to be bigger than him. Okay. And what do you want to do? I want to get like right up on it. Okay. I want to stick my dick inside of him, and I want to send my dick out the other side because I rolled 20.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
He goes, what? I'm like, yeah, we are mind fucking him.
Oh my God.
Move called the mind fuck. He
I love it.
Oh man!
First time ever playing D&D, by the way. We were like 4 or 5 sessions in, and I had been falling asleep when we were playing. I hated this campaign so much. I actually didn't want to play again. And the DM, who was also my assistant manager at the time, so he can't really yell at me, right? Because like I'm his boss. He closes his book and he says, "Angels descend from the heavens and kill you all, and I'm going home." And he never came back.
Wow.
We
That's
invited him
funny.
to play Mass Effect with us, and he lasted like 2 sessions, and we wound up putting he played the vampire robot. Don't ask me how that works.
Sure.
He
In
wanted,
Mass Effect, okay.
yeah, he wanted a Geth that could leech life off of other beings because it was a Geth that was possessed by an old and I'm like, that doesn't play the damn video game. That shit doesn't exist.
That doesn't make sense.
So we jettisoned his character out into space.
I just pictured the whole thing from what was it, Among Us, just jettison him out. That's it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of ruined D&D for him, but that introduced me to Brad. And so that was my first time playing D&D, and that's how I did it. And so if you wonder what kind of player I am, that's the kind of player I am.
I fucking love it. That's it. I
That's
think
awesome.
you definitely you would fit in with the whole craziness with the crew and all that. Definitely gonna.
Oh,
that DM.
yeah.
But right
Oh, yeah.
now, we're gonna give you what's called the plug. Please plug away the comic. Please plug away everything. Plug away Homebrewed Comics.
Crit is for people who like the buddy cop movies from the 90s, or even like your The Other Guys. I love to quote The Other Guys because it is a through and through version of what my campaign would be without superheroes. If you're a fan of superhero movies, like in Peacemaker, those kind of things, in those worlds, sarcastic, fun, adventure style stories, but with a twist. Because everything that happens in our book happens at the table. We roll the die to see if it happens, and so every story is unpredictable. and every story ends in ways that you wouldn't expect. So if you are a fan of the unpredictable, fun-loving, tongue-in-cheek campaigns, then we're definitely a book for you. We're going on book 6 right now, which is on Kickstarter. It is issues 0 through 5, all in one book. You can collect the single issues as well. If you're a fan of alcoholic cats, he's in there. And we have a little bit of everything for everyone. So if you're a D&D fan, you can play levels 1 through 5 of every one of our characters as well. And we have collector cards, posters. We have everything for everyone at a very affordable price. So definitely check it out. We funded in 26 minutes. And right now we just unlocked our first goal. We're getting close to our second one already. And that's only within the first 7 days. So go over to Kickstarter, type in crit. It's called intestinal fortitude, which means, the ability not to shit your pants.
I love it.
Giant says, take my money.
Take my money.
The link is in the description, guys. I also posted in the chat, so make sure you go and throw that money his way. But
oh man,
we are going.
I
gotta look at something.
Went on Instagram to pull up Homebrewed.
Yeah,
I will be releasing every one of them. Brad and I are sitting down end of this month. He just had to move, and so we're gonna sit down and do that. We looked at them. We actually played yesterday. Oh no, sorry, Sunday. That's how my week's gone. And he was like, "Hey, I think the only class that we have to work on is Obi's because that's the one I homebrewed." And I was like, "Nah, I literally just took out of the book because I didn't want to get yelled at for creating too many stupid things." So I think levels 1 through 5 are balanced. Like I said, 700 hours worth of gameplay. We've refined these characters over and over and over again. And for D&D players, I really want to see. I'll talk a little bit about our end game plan. Crit does end. It's not an infinite series. We're not Batman, Superman. I'm not even going to try and compare to the length of Spawn because that's just a very long story. We want to tell our story in about 40 books. And after we're done, I want to release the game to everybody because what happens at the end of Crit, and we're actually coming close to it now in the story, things have already been set in motion to where that final bad guy moment, any level 20 campaign, it's their moment, and we're gonna play that moment through, and you're gonna see kind of what happens. I don't really know what happens. I know the setting, but I don't know what the outcome is. When that's all said and done, that is gonna be the world of Crit. So who's ever left alive, they exist, and we want to release the game to other people. And I want to be, and this is a little bit down the road because I've got to get the technology to do it, but I want to allow people to submit their campaigns into the world of Crit, similar to how George Lucas used to let people submit their stories for Star Wars.
I'm really excited about that.
I want to be able to give people another, a modern D&D world to play in, but that has superheroes. I've seen a lot of games that use different mechanics in their worlds, but the way this world ends, they're in our world. This starts in New Orleans, 2019. Okay, there's some fictional corporations in there because I'm heavily inspired by Canadian storytelling, which is all bad corporations. And I forget. I was watching Fringe when I first started writing a lot of Crit, so there's got to be a bad corporation.
Yeah.
But at the very end, when it all ends, that's the world I want to release to people, and that way we have a finished product to really release out there. If I gave it to people now, your game may conflict with where we're going, and I don't want to have those things happen. So I think once we're done, it would be really good to be like, hey, this is how the world is. What do you do with this world? And allow people to submit ideas and hey, this is where our campaign is. And maybe even have a Discord and again, we're still in the idea phase for that because we're not there yet. But we play games with people, or we open it up and maybe have the Matt Mercer style thing where he brings different people into his world and we have all these different things, but it's a D&D-esque world because where we're going to be, monsters will exist. So we can just pull a monster manual out and a DM can go, okay, this would exist. I just have to be able to get our world to a point where D&D monsters can exist, and that's what is going to happen. And that's it's an eventual thing for you guys.
I feel like you have a kite.
Cogs are turning in Law's head.
The minute we go off air, I have so many things to tell you. Oh my god!
So many questions.
Oh.
Now we are on to our next segment, and we're gonna prep him right now. We're going to prep him.
Oh. Well, okay, so
that wasn't a prep.
So
but okay.
So you did see the Batman, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Kind of our thing is that we go full spoilers, and we kind of just open it up with a major spoiler, or if we can in whatever we're talking about today.
You're gonna tell them that Batman's in it, because that's a big spoiler.
Huge spoiler.
All right,
there is no spoiler.
So tonight we are talking the Batman, Matt Reeves, the Batman with Robert Pattinson, and this was the Batman movie we did not know that we needed. I came out of this movie theater and I was like, holy shit, this thing's amazing. There are literally things just dripping in this. We get hints of Hush. We get hints of Court of Owls. There's a Joker drop. We deal with, and they're building something up to, I don't care whatever the fuck DC does. I just want to see what Matt Reeves has to do with Batman, and I'm going full hog that I'm so happy. I'm so happy with this movie. I was so happy. That's it. I got no major spoilers. I want to talk about this movie with y'all. I want to get your thoughts. Aunt May is dead. Let's get to it.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
There we go. Spoilers.
Aunt May is dead. Yes, the Long Halloween is definitely, we get hints of that in there. Year one in there. There's so much.
Oh my god.
Oh, you are the resident Batman fan, because again, so you are leading this conversation. Chris, you are motivated to join us because I saw you have the same Batman encyclopedia I do have there, which I know Law has in his book. There you go.
Yeah,
I leaned my camera up. I've got a bookshelf of Batman there. I've got figurines here. I've got a building.
If I just move my camera that way, same. If I just move the camera.
On my wall, one of the original. Here, I'll show you this. All right, since we're Batman fans, this is an original page out of one of the black and white prints of Batman from like 40s or 50s.
Ooh,
awesome.
Yeah, a roommate of mine gave me this years ago. I don't know how much it's worth or how much he paid for it. He told me not to ask, and I'd probably yell at him. I have never removed the frame. It came like this from the previous owner, and that's been on my wall for about a decade.
The only rough equivalent is I have a animation cell from Batman the animated series, or Batman Beyond the animated series, that one of my buddies gave me.
Yes. I didn't realize how big of a Batman fan I was until people randomly started buying me Batman gifts like a few years ago. I would be at work. I worked in a cell phone. I was selling cell phones at the time, and customers would bring me Batman stuff. And like, how do you know I like Batman so much? Like, I don't get it. And they're like, oh, some customers would know me from Facebook. I was, they used my Facebook to get a lot of business. I was a commissioned employee. I'm like, oh, I was on your Facebook, and you're always wearing a Batman shirt, or like your Batman's Batman something in a picture. I was like, I never realized that. And I thought about it. My first birthday cake that I remember asking for, Batman. My first Halloween costume, Batman.
You are in good company today.
So yes, I would love to talk about this.
All right. So obviously we're all like super hyped, super ecstatic. I want to get first impressions of where you think this is going before we get into anything else. Like I know everyone loved it, and we're gonna do the ranking system, all that fun jazz. I just want to see where your guys' head was at based on what we said with Hush and Long Halloween and everything else. Where do you see this version of Batman and his rogues gallery going?
Who's taking it first?
I want to give it a Val. She's been.
I was gonna figure it too.
She probably needs to take it.
Okay. Where it's going. So what I would like to see is Robert Pattinson grow into the Bruce Wayne side of him. I definitely want to see that because I didn't get that here. Penguin definitely coming in for the power play. Where it's going. There is a lot because this mixed up so many different things for me that I had to go look into because I was confused. I remembered something different. Hush and The Long Halloween I was familiar with. Hush I was vaguely familiar with. And then I'm like, is this Riddler or Hush? Because they also don't use the right names. There was some confusion for me there where you see Edward Elliot, I think they is, and isn't Thomas Elliot is Hush, but then Edward Nygma, and they used Edward Norton. It was just some confusion there that I had to go back and research. But I would like to see them bring. I don't want another Joker too soon. I know that they set the seed for that, but I don't want another Joker too soon. I'd like to see characters we haven't seen. It was just so good. I don't have a lot to say as far as what's to come because I went into this movie with no expectations because I have no faith in DC movies over the years. I've lost that. And I've had really low expectations in Robert Pattinson. I'm not gonna lie. However, I loved him I loved this iteration of Batman. I loved the fight scenes. I loved him in his character, with the exception of Bruce Wayne. Wasn't feeling that side, but it was a lot better than what I expected it to be.
Chris.
Okay. Well, I'm going to second a lot of that because when they announced Robert Pattinson, I was honestly disappointed, but the disappointment comes from the fact that I actually really enjoyed the idea of Ben Affleck getting a chance to be Batman. I never felt that we got the chance to see his Batman because he was always doing something with a team or in other movies, and he was more of an anchor character than a pivotal character. And I knew when he was working on his version of Batman that we would get a solid film because he actually has a bat cave in his house. That's how big of a fan he is. So we weren't going to get someone who wasn't a fan of Batman making a Batman film. So I was disappointed to learn Pattinson got the role. I thought he was great in Tenet, but giving a character like Batman to someone, let me say my thoughts on the character. You have two characters in one, and the easiest one to play is Batman because most of your stunt work is done by a stuntman. Even if you can do them yourselves, they still got to worry about you breaking something. So stuntman's going to do a lot of that. You're from here down is all you're doing, which is you got to have the growl, you got to have the brooding, and you got to be able to say very few words and just go away. That's Batman, right? Bruce Wayne is the mask. Bruce Wayne is the character that we need to see the charisma. And I kept telling everybody, I don't know why they didn't just hand him or any Batman actor, hand them the animated series and say, study Bruce Wayne. Yeah. And then we're going to film.
Yep. Agreed.
I don't care what Bruce Wayne's lines are. You need to have that charisma and that confidence that character carries. And I did not see that in the film. That being said, I didn't hate Pattinson as Batman. He didn't have bat nipples, which was great. But I do love those films anyway. I'll talk about that for a day. But I think the Batman came off fine. The Bruce Wayne, what I'm hoping for in the future is we see him grow into Bruce Wayne. We get hints that they're going to go there with some of the dialogue and some of the things they said. My thought on Bruce Wayne is we learned in Spider-Man 3 that the emo thing doesn't work, and we should have probably avoided that. That haircut really went out about 10 years ago. So,
bothered my soul.
And I didn't see him as Batman because, and I say this, the armor he wears is heavy. Okay. Even if Bruce Wayne isn't a very strong man, he would be a little bit more fit than what we saw. And that was jarring to me because I saw, and the dedication that we saw from Christian Bale going from The Machinist to Batman Begins, putting on 200 pounds. That man ate 4 chickens a day and would work out all day to be Batman. And when I read that Pattinson wasn't going to put on weight for the film, I was a little upset because Batman is a human. He isn't Superman. He has 0 superpowers. Batman operates at peak level conditioning. It is in his character description. and I don't care how people draw him as a muscular dude, but he needs to be at your peak. And I don't think that Pattinson was at peak level conditioning for this film, and you see it when he takes his shirt off.
Yep.
I looked at my wife and I was like, he's skinny fat in that. I'm not body shaming at all.
Right.
But you have an expectation to see him. So I'm hoping in a future movie they say, hey, we're gonna get you a physical trainer, and
We need to bulk him up a bit.
right, eat some chicken, right? Like
Kentucky Fried Chicken is there.
Yeah, have some
Yeah,
meat.
no, I mean, I think he was a little fit, was just too skinny. But yeah, he needs to bulk up a bit. I think we're going to get to repair what Riddler did to his family's name. We're going to get more of the Bruce Wayne philanthropist,
We have to.
playboy. I would hope, because now he has to live up to that.
He said
if
it
they don't, then that's going to be a problem.
Towards the end when they were doing the dialogue over there. Yeah. Sitting right next to me. And I like to say I enjoyed the Batman film, but it didn't do anything that hadn't been done before. It just did everything well that we've seen, like the city getting flooded, like the Rogues Gallery, like all these things. We've seen a great Riddler.
I think the detective noir aspect was
That
very,
was something.
it was done very well compared to what we haven't seen it. Because from my experience, the villains make the previous Batman movies so great. However, here, although the Riddler was good, although Penguin was exciting to watch. I mean, I thought Colin Farrell wasn't Colin Farrell here, and I think that the movie itself in its entirety, as far as what it gave us different aspects of different detective feeling, and made it into a comic book thing. That's what separates this one compared to what they've done in the past for me.
What I really loved about it was the hard detective stuff that we finally got to see.
You're right.
And that's been one of my complaints about Batman since the beginning, was we never see the world's greatest detective. And I can tell they played the Arkham games because they used some of that Arkham technology, right? And that's great. I think they did an overall good job, and I don't feel that Pattinson was to Batman that we saw with the Bruce in Batman v Superman, the bad guy. I can't think of.
You're thinking
Lex?
The Lex Luthor.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Yes, Eisenberg was a terrible Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
right.
He should have been the Riddler.
Right? He was a great Riddler, but like it wasn't that bad to me. And it wasn't something where I wouldn't want to see the film again. In fact, I'm actually talking to my friend Brad about going to see it because I think he'll love the noir aspect of it. And like I said, they did a lot of things right, but the one thing I wish they would have done a little bit better job with is just the Bruce Wayne piece of it. The fight scenes were brutal. Like I was like, oh my god, like. That's how I want my characters to fight, Like I want to see a movie with my dudes punching a dude like that,
It reminded me of me watching me playing Arkham, like Arkham City,
Yep.
just like seeing how he was like doing all the moves and using all the objects, and even at the last scene when he's stringing everybody up, I was like, oh, this is like one of the scenes from Arkham where you're like just planning out how you're gonna do your maneuver and going out and taking care of them,
just like that. I was seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
From the beginning, when he takes out the painted face guys, it was like, oh, this is like the game. Okay, I think I like this so far. It was just his entrance in. I overall, because I had such low expectations, I left feeling very good about it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I had with the car ride with Tone coming from the home we were talking law. I mean, I had a love-hate relationship. Like in the beginning, I didn't like Pattinson too much, only because of the emo, like you said, the emo thing that kind of took me out. But then I started really deep diving into it a little more. I was like, he's kind of playing a grieving Bruce Wayne, which I don't think we got too much of, but you kind of, and it's kind of like setting up like the philanthropist, which is what I got from the story because of the family name, Riddler dragging it down. I am one of those few people who do wish that Ben Affleck did get his shine to do his own Batman movie. Because he did a phenomenal Bruce Wayne, and a lot of the Snyder trash that was going on. Like, Snyder showed that he could have done a great movie, but it was because his worst feeling was the Warner execs. That's what happened with that. Why that franchise was like up and down. But I didn't hate Pattinson. I didn't. I feel like he was giving us something that we really haven't seen in the character. He's a smaller version of the character, which he adds. And I feel that he's an actor who we're probably going to see do a transition from turning Bruce Wayne into that mask that we know and love. And what I did like about it was that this is kind of like Batman rookie year. He's only been Batman for 2 years that they said in the story. So it's like even though we may have had the tech, like Tone said it, he was like, we had the detective stuff in the Bale movies, but it was at a high tech level, and this was like low tech. And I gotta say, when the Batmobile was revealed, that scene, I was like, oh my god, everyone who saw that Batmobile come out, they shit into their pants like, yo, we gotta get the fuck out of here.
Mhm.
That was a good scene, just in general, like the introduction to that Batmobile and how everyone reacted. If you've ever seen some of those, there was a trilogy of like short films that came out back in like early 2009, 7. I forget who did them. I want to say Robert Rodriguez did them, but I might be mistaken. And there's that car scene just reminded me of something that would happen in one of those movies. And it was like scary for a moment. Like just the car itself was like scary. I was like, oh man, I want one.
I would actually make the argument, because everyone has had their gripes about the emo Pattinson Wayne take. I am coming at it from an opposite angle, only because, as big of a Batman fan as I am, we know that Batman is who he is. Like, that's who he is internally and what have you. We have Bruce Wayne, who is the mask that he wears and the personification of that. But then there's still the Bruce that only the Bat family and very, very few select people get to see. Right. We don't see that. He keeps a lot of that close to his chest. So I think like this version of like we saw was that the part that he's about to lock away and just be like, all right, I'm going to put this here. I have to shelf this for later. Like, no one really gets to see that other than Alfred mostly, and then maybe Dick and, the kids later on. But even then, they have to pry it out of him. Yeah. So I think that's what we saw with this version where, yes, we're going to get the eccentric Bruce Wayne who's like a playboy and all this other stuff and a philanthropist. Sure. But we needed this version because he's still young. He's still dealing with all those emotions. I will say it time and time again, Bruce Wayne died in the alley with his parents. What he is now is a creation of what he feels like Bruce Wayne needs to be, or what Bruce Wayne needs to be personified as.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, even looking at it, like, so I know we're talking about the whole emo thing. It's just I was looking at it in the sense of like he just doesn't have that opportunity yet. And like they're planting those seeds, and even when he was having that conversation with the mayor, even though the mayor, the candidate, even though he was kind of distracting looking at the old mayor's son, but she's talking about, I'm going to need you more, I'm going to lean on you, putting those seeds in that we're going to get to that point, because we're used to seeing Bruce being the charismatic character, because that's kind of what we're used to. And from what I like about this movie is building him up. We know it's just he's year 2, he's Batman. We already got that. We need to build out the other two sides of the triangle that is Bruce Wayne. Batman, in the house, Bruce Wayne, outside the house, Bruce Wayne. Right. And we got a little bit of inside the house, and we need to get outside the house. And I think
because even Bale did it. Bale that first beginning and begins where he doesn't want to do meetings. He does like it took maybe like the middle second part of the movie for him to like go, all right, I actually have to put on this face. I actually have to show up to meetings and put on the charm. And like, he doesn't want to do that. You can tell he doesn't want to do that.
Even between 1 and 2 with Bale, when he finally says he wants to, I forget her name, who he wants to, with Jake Gyllenhaal's sister, with Rachel, right? He wants to be with her. And then she's not going to be with him, and he decides to just play it up and buy out the ballet because it's part of the plan of how he's going to get to China. But it's like this is what Bruce Wayne would do. Bruce Wayne would buy out the ballerinas to take him on a yacht, but to him, it's like this is just an excuse for me to go to China, and Alfred can deal with it. So he had to get to that point, and even then, like that first Bruce Wayne with Christian Bale, he was gone. He was gone, and then he came back to the city. His way of dealing with that, his way of dealing with those issues was leaving Gotham and getting his training, and then coming back and then playing it up. Where in this, we find out that Alfred was the one that trained him in all those aspects. He didn't go on some pilgrimage, as far as we know, outside of the country to become who he is. So
I'm curious to see how that plays out later on. But I do want to ask, because it's not just Pattinson and it's not just Batman who made this film. We have such a wide cast of characters, not only just rogue galleries, but we have the anti-heroes and the allies that make up his entire story. So who were you guys most expecting to see and like really enjoy and were like, yes, they pulled through? And who do you guys get really surprised from that you didn't realize were going to pull it off the way you thought they were? I will start with Seabass, actually.
Oh, me? Oh, damn. Yeah. Oh, me under the bus. Shit.
Of course.
I was really impressed with both the portrayal of Catwoman and Penguin, because both actors I really felt brought their A game, and I didn't expect that from both of those actors. Colin Farrell really, I feel, embodied a version of Penguin that we haven't seen on screen, because we've only really seen Danny DeVito and the actor who we had in Gotham, and the makeup, the special effects that was used on him, it didn't look cheesy. It looked like he actually put on the weight. He said
on set that they didn't recognize him when he first walked on set with the full makeup.
I didn't recognize him.
No one recognized him, and they were like, "Do you belong here, sir? Like, are you supposed to be here?"
Yeah, they went out to eat one night, dressed in full makeup, and nobody could tell it was makeup.
Yeah.
Like he was sitting at a table with cast and crew, and no one knew it was him.
Mm-hmm. It's just phenomenal when you use practical effects versus how they tried to get Cavill's mustache out in that first Justice League movie, and it was just bad. And then Zoe Kravitz, I mean, I really liked her portrayal of Catwoman, and she still had that anti-hero vibe to her, but also still sultry and everything. And she really, I think nailed this character. I would have to say I liked her version more than Anne Hathaway's. I didn't hate Anne Hathaway's, but I liked this version of Catwoman. Definitely 10 times better than Halle Berry's.
You don't talk about that, man.
You don't talk about that one.
You don't talk about that.
That didn't happen.
That didn't happen. Yeah.
And then even the Riddler, like I wasn't so sure about the way how they were going about the Riddler, but then it all just made sense when you start to see the story, and that's how the opening, and it was just, oh, okay, this is a version of the Riddler
they
that I'm
pulled a lot from
scared
Scott
of.
Snyder's New 52 Riddler for that one. I feel like
I'm terrified of that Riddler, but that's me. Pick your next article.
Chris, go for it.
Jeffrey Wright, that James Gordon was flawless, and he came in when the role was announced. There was like split down the middle on that for different reasons. One, whenever you announce a character such as James Gordon, who we've seen so many, right? We've seen so many different Gordons, and coming off of I forgive me, but the actor from he's in Spider-Man. He is
Jay Jonah.
Yeah, the character who plays Jay Jonah, right? We didn't get to, and that's another character we didn't get to see where they went, and I was very interested because I thought he had done a good job in the very minimal time we saw as him.
Simmons was great, but like
Simmons worked out for that role.
What? Simmons was jacked.
He was jacked for that. That was almost as bad as the guy from the Eternals that got jacked and never had a shirtless scene.
Right.
But like we never got to see that, and I think that's where some of the hardships for this movie came into play, where we had gotten excited about a cast that never got a chance. And so getting spin into this new cast all of a sudden, when Jeffrey Wright was announced, he was one of the few actors I said, you know, he can pull it off, because Gordon is he's a support role, but he's a very important support role. And I think Jeffrey Wright just nailed that role. Every line was delivered perfectly. He never broke that character that we know and we've known forever. I think he did a great job. Kravitz did an amazing job as Catwoman. Some of the writing they put into the character, I think we could have seen more, maybe. There was a few instances where, and I don't put this on the actress, I put it more on the writing of the character, but I think she definitely she brought a good, good portrayal of it, better than Anne Hathaway. Nothing against Anne Hathaway. I think she's a great actress, and Devil Wears Prada will always be one of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah, oh yes.
but I never saw her in that action role, and even Kravitz's face, right? Like, you just see that RBF the entire movie, and that's Catwoman to me, especially at that time period, because she comes from that slums background. She's had it hard her whole life, and she wears that really well throughout the film. And the first time you see her go down the ladder, I was like, oh wow, that's actually really done well. Like, every scene where she had to be the Catwoman, she did a good job. But I have to say, no one will ever beat Michelle Pfeiffer. Having to lube up to get into a suit. I mean, come on.
That's dedication.
And just the faithfulness of that version of Catwoman will go down in the books. So, but I think those two characters are really good. Aside from, and I think the makeup team should get an award for the Penguin. Hands down.
Absolutely.
Colin Farrell is an amazing actor to begin with. He's proven time and time again. If you watch it, especially in recent years, I've seen him in things that I'm just like, man, that's so good. I love Colin, and my wife absolutely loves Colin Farrell, not for his acting ability at all. So I get to watch a lot of his movies, and I don't mind. It's fine. I really enjoyed his character, and I was actually taken back by the guy that they had as the Kingpin guy.
Falcone?
John Turturro.
Dude.
Yes, because
Yeah.
I've
loved him from Rounders.
putting the shoe on like can I shine your shoes? Like, he's a comedian, and when I saw that, I just picture
him in Transformers.
Well, yeah, in Transformers, but he was still like that. I've never seen him in that kind of role. But I was watching an Apple TV show. My wife and I got into it, where he's in that, and he plays a serious role.
Have you ever watched Rounders, by the way?
It's
Matt Damon.
It is
Edward Norton. It's a great cast. He's in it and has a very similar demeanor to what he played as Falcone here.
Yeah. So
just to clarify,
I've seen Rounders, but it was I was signed to a record label for about 6 years, and I played a lot of music, and I drank a lot, and I watched it during that time period. So there's a lot of movies where I have to
give it another shot. Give it another shot.
But I've also always been a Ben Affleck fan, and I've seen almost every movie he's been in. But yeah, he was in Monk. I think not much though, right? Like, I don't remember him being in maybe more.
I didn't really watch Monk.
He wasn't the main guy. I know everyone gets him confused, but I know he was, I think, in an episode or two. But he's still funny. He's a funny character, right?
Yeah.
And he played a role that was drastically off course for what he normally does. So I thought he did a very, very good job, because he gave us something we didn't expect from him. God, I can't think of the. It's probably because I haven't eaten enough today. I apologize.
It's all good.
But the butler,
Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis, yeah.
Thank you, Andy Serkis. We know what to expect from him. I have to go rewatch Monk again. Andy Serkis, though, we know what to expect, right? He's a great writer. He's a great director. Everything he does is great. And again, coming into a role where, like, I just feel that we've seen so many of them, it's hard to stand out in that kind of role. mean, he didn't have to. He just did a very good job with the role. And I like that they did some of that. They played it safe. And I was describing this to one of my friends. I was like, when I walked out of episode 7 of Star Wars, I said they played that safe. Out of the 3, that was the one that I said, okay, it was good because they played it safe. A lot of those roles were great because the actors just played those roles very safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was why we got the movie we got. And they respected so much of that material.
Right.
I will say, as a huge Batman fan, I've seen every single movie. I'm a fan. I'm a diehard fan of Bale, and I'll hang that on a cross. I've argued with the Bale, but the dedication the actor had to that role is what really won me over. The hardships he had to go through, let alone, I'm not going to go into the voice. I argue the voice because you have a British actor putting on an American accent that he's trying to disguise the American accent.
I get bothered by the gritty. It was a little bit accentuated sometimes for me, and it would just. It was
Where is she?
I just love saying it. Like, where is she?
Pass me the toilet paper. Let's go.
I also, that was the Tumblr. I don't know. I just remember when those films came out and how they made me feel, and they made me feel good. And this Batman movie, and we finally got closer to what we've all wanted since Batman Returns, which is that very gritty, dark Batman.
Mm-hmm.
They tried in a lot of the movies to go there, but without going there. I mean, do you remember Danny DeVito in his white suit underneath the city with the stuff coming out of his mouth?
Yeah.
As a child, I thought it was a horror film, but I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And we get really close here. Okay, like there's a lot of death and destruction in this movie that is caused by people other than Batman for once. The man that doesn't kill, that murders.
Thank God.
But yeah, if I had to say the one actor I walked out and I said, wow, was Jeffrey Wright, though. Because he was under a lot of fire and a lot of pressure in that role.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that says he's not Jim Gordon is wrong.
Yep.
Yep. I agree.
That entire interrogation scene that he did, and he's whispering and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
Fantastic.
I mean, that whole police station scene, I love. Between
him running through and then having to go.
Yep, that whole scene, like all the cops just coming out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm like watching this movie and I'm just getting goosebumps. I'm like, yo, this was like I told Seabass this and I told Law this. It just felt like I was watching a comic, like just come to life in each of the chapters, like because the movie is extremely long, but it felt like you're just watching chapter after chapter after chapter as you're figuring out this story and learning new things as you're learning them with the characters. I like that they go back to certain places looking for things they missed the first time around. And
they make mistakes.
They make mistakes. It just felt like
I laughed, but I laughed because it was perfect. He shouldn't be able to land the first time he puts the.
I mean, he even stalled the Batmobile.
Yeah.
He stalled it.
He sure did.
He stalled it. Like, but it doesn't take away from it, right? It's just he's just getting it because, like, you see him. They give you all these little nuggets that he's been building this car for forever,
right?
And he's been using the motorcycle for like the entire time, and then he's like, I gotta bring out the car. Right, and so he gets it. He does the rev up, and like everyone else, when you start your car for the first time, and he puts it into shift too quickly and just stalls it. He's like, "All right, well, fuck, now I gotta fix this and do it."
I want to know if that was scripted or if it was by accident.
Oh, that would be amazing if it was by accident. I would love it.
Because
they decided
if
to
it
keep it.
wasn't scripted, it's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get back from the bat mechanic. All right,
I love that they had him working on his car, because generally we see other people doing Batman's work.
Yeah.
And
even driving himself.
Right. Like they did everything well in the film. I just hope in the next one we see them bring in some stuff we haven't seen before. And that's what I would love. And I don't want to see the Joker, we don't have to see the Joker. The Joker could even be operating in the background for all I care. I would love to see them do. You know, they joke around about Calendar Man, but I'd love to actually see it in real life. I think,
Yeah.
and he doesn't have to be like a main character, kind of like what they did with the Penguin here. If they do some of those darker storylines, the rogues gallery layer each other, and the main villain like leans on the other ones to get to that point. And you don't,
Right.
but you have better villains than just Joker. And we should get a good Mr. Freeze. Although I love Arnold, everybody too.
No, I would like to see that. I think
Yeah.
I think also this version of the Riddler is something that I've never seen personally, because I don't know the recent comic concept. For me, Riddler was just this Jim Carrey. But for me, Riddler is what I see in the comic cartoons, or in Lego DC. Like, so this version of Riddler was diabolical and psycho and completely eye-opening to what I was ignorant about with this particular character. So I think that's what I really like.
Of what I believe they pulled from, look at New 52, Batman 0 Year, and Dark City. And I would say a lot of the stuff that I would expect that they're going with, they're probably going to pull from Batman Eternal, which is an insane storyline.
Also want to add in that Matt Reeves is also being given a show. It was supposed to be about the Gotham City Police Department.
Yeah, and
it has now shifted to Arkham,
which makes so much. And it's supposed to be like a horror vibe, which I'm so here for. Absolutely here for.
So we might get Croc.
Croc, Clayface, give me all of it.
With the more supernatural aspects of Batman. Oh, what up, Dan?
Hey, what's
up,
going on?
I love that dude. He's
Dan's awesome, man.
But with Arkham, you have a lot of potential for not just the human aspect of the villains, but if we can actually bring in some supernatural aspects into that universe, I want to see where they go, because the one thing about the post Nolan verse, right? How do we do Batman with super beings?
Yeah.
Right? They
give
always
us Clayface, give us Man Bat, give us Croc, like a real actual Croc.
Yeah, they were always afraid of putting Superman in a world with Batman, because it's like we have aliens, but that's where Batman shines. That's where Batman does, even though he's the human, it's like he's the one that walks around the kryptonite ring. He's the one that he has the failsafe for all of them.
Everything.
Yeah.
Right.
The line from the Justice League movie where he goes, "Well, what's our failsafe for you?" And he's like, "The Justice League."
Like you guys.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
that is my favorite line.
It's amazing. And I think if we're and I know they're not really going to go down this route, because they've said that this exists in a different world.
Yeah, it's Earth 2.
But we could get something,
So I almost don't want it tainted by any of the rest of like the universe that they have so far. So I'm kind of like, as much as I want it to be the main like storyline for Batman, I know that once it becomes main storyline, it connects to everything, and I'm like, I don't want it to be tainted.
Because you can't trust DC. They're gonna fuck it up.
They don't know how to.
It's Warner Brothers.
Speaking to like Warner Brothers fucking things up and all the formulas that they've had, we've seen over the years them do it right and them do it very wrong. This is something that we didn't expect to go as right as it did. Versus something like BVS or any other property they've done lately. What made this so right? And like, where do you guys think like they shined with this one?
Go ahead, Val.
I think this version, what I liked, we didn't see his parents die again.
Oh my god!
Yep.
I'm
the first thing I said to the guys when I called them. I was like, "Oh my god, we did not see Thomas." And
I'm
Martha
glad
die.
they didn't start from that same freaking start again. We've always seen Batman in a position where he is got it all figured out. He is like top level genius. He is this huge tech guy. He has, we're seeing ground up. Like he had only 2 monitors and literally needed Alfred to decode things by hand instead of scanning it in a computer that he would have. So it was very a primitive version of Batman that I've never seen on screen. And I really enjoyed that for the most part. And then the way this was written, the way it was shot,
Amen.
yeah, it was just so. It worked. It made it. They didn't focus too much on the. I don't know. It just worked. I think the only thing I didn't like was probably the narration part, but and him being emo Brucey. But I feel like it was needed because hopefully where they go with it, it will show his growth.
Right.
If they do it right. But definitely what made it work for me was those things that we haven't seen on screen before.
Guys?
Narration reminded me of Watchmen a bit, and I thought the same thing when they started. I was like, I hope we don't go Watchmen, because although I liked Watchmen, it's Watchmen, it's not Batman, and I was hoping we didn't get this narrative the entire time, which I'm glad they didn't do. The small bits and pieces they did, I thought were well done. But that was my if I'm not sitting on my turn, I won't.
No,
interrupt.
I felt the same way. It was like, I hope they don't do this throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that, but I'm glad they didn't. But it was good. It was good.
I am happy with this movie because, again, it puts a lot of Hollywood naysayers who think they know about cinema to tell them to shut the fuck up, because it's like, this to me, it was more than an action movie. We got drama, we got a great world building in this. It was great storytelling, and I feel that
This is one of my favorite
Yeah.
adaptations of Gotham I've seen as a live action.
it was
I
beautiful.
would say so, yeah.
And you know, it's like this, like we rave and talk about like how Marvel has been changing things and all that, but outside of DC trying to build a whole connected universe, they've been doing stuff great with solo movies. Like Joker was very Oscar worthy, and now you have this
Shazam.
movie. Shazam did great, and it's like, it felt like how Tone said, like, we ripped the graphic novel, put it out there, and it shows you that this is just more than, oh, I am the villain and I'm the bad guy. It's not just stereotypical superhero stuff. This is like, okay, we got a little bit of flavoring of sprinkling of Sherlock Holmes there, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of
Very
action, a little bit of this.
psychological.
And yeah, it was very psychological. I mean, it felt reminiscent to like how when we watched the movie Seven and how that felt
Right.
gritty.
Yeah.
This had that beautiful grittiness to it. It's like, I felt how dirty Gotham was. I felt how dangerous Gotham was. You brought the character to life, and then once you brought that city to life, that world, you understood why each character is the way that they are. And then when you had those little ray of sunshines and hopes, like with the conversation between Alfred and Bruce in the hospital, it's like, these are the things you want to hold on. And especially that ending when he was like, I have to be more than vengeance for these people. And when that girl who were they going to take up on the helicopter, and she grabs him and he looks at her, he rests her assured, like, no, you're okay, everything is cool. Like, this was that superhero moment that's like, this is what makes Batman because he is there for the city. He is the city's protector, and I felt that they captured that all in this, and that's how I felt about this movie.
Tone?
I would say that this movie, I think what DC's been doing with all of its like side characters, right? The movie was about Batman. It wasn't an ensemble movie. And I think where we always talk about when it comes to DC is that they try so hard to make this ensemble team up movie work, and it just doesn't, because you're relying on the assumption that everyone knows who these characters are based on the past, based on what they've read, what they've watched, what nostalgia of growing up. And I don't want that. I want to see your take on this character and pull some influences from things we've read. Like, big shout out the fact that Frank Miller is not the only influence in this movie.
Yes.
Frank Miller is Batman, right? But they use Frank Miller for fucking everything. And we're getting pulls from all the different creators of Batman put into one, which I think is part of the secret sauce of what Marvel does. They take all the bits from all the writers, bring them in, and they make their own. And I think they did that. They did that here, and they're making Bruce and Batman live up, and you're bringing these characters up, and you're making them grounded in what we're trying to build. Like Matt Reeves had a vision for Gotham City and for what he wanted his characters to be, and he was able to bring that to light. And you weren't beholden by this fact that they all these superheroes need to come together and fight the flashy bad guy at the end.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think once DC moves away from that and you focus on your fucking trinity of characters, you can have really good movies. And if you have directors who get their vision and know what they want to do, and you don't have the oversight because of whatever fucking reason, you're going to be able to create something. And I think we didn't expect that from this movie because it was Earth 2, and we just thought it was just another way to make money for Warner Brothers and using Batman, and it wasn't that. It was literally, you feel like this is a passion project for Matt Reeves, and he did what he wanted to do, and you see it on screen, and he did the damn thing.
Yep.
So I think if DC wants to do anything, is to kind of take that, run with it, and put it into your movies, and we'll see. I don't know. I don't have hopes for Flashpoint. I hope it's good, but I don't have hopes because it's the same fucking thing. You want to take something, this huge moment in a character's life, and throw it on screen with the only thing we have a Flash is the Snyder cut to back it up.
No.
And
that's not enough. He needs more than that. I've never watched the CW version. I know little about Flash's character. I know he's a very popular character, but I was a Marvel head. I know Batman. That's it. Everyone else is But so if you're going to give me Flash, give me more than just snippets. And I know Flashpoint just because of the animated movie. I don't know. I don't know why they decide to go the routes that they do.
Still say they should have made him Wally West.
All right.
I don't know why we didn't get the guy. There's so many better actors that could have actually pulled off Barry Allen. Just saying.
Well, Grant Gustin does a great job on the Flash TV show.
I would keep Ezra, just make him Wally.
Yeah.
Right, like Barry Allen, if they're going to focus on the Barry Allen portion of it, I don't see Ezra as Barry Allen.
He hasn't grown.
And another problem I see with Flashpoint is they're not continuing the Snyderverse. They're not continuing that universe. Why are you giving us a film that is dead?
Tied to
they're wiping it. Right? Like they're using a movie to wipe another movie, which is fucking
lazy.
Nuts.
That's lazy.
And you think bringing in Michael Keaton is going to make us hand wave it all away, and it's like it's not going to do it.
No, we just saw Michael Keaton in Spider-Man. Like, why do we care? Like,
he's vulture now.
Random tweet just came in. We got to confirm season 4 for Daredevil, by the way.
Yep.
On Disney Plus?
Yes, sir.
Really?
Yeah,
yes,
I'm into Disney.
Oh, I'm excited about that.
I hope we get less filler.
Yeah.
So my issue with Daredevil was it was a great show, but it was bogged down with filler.
I got it for you. I'm gonna tell you why.
Disney doesn't. Disney does they do like 6 to 8 episodes.
Disney does.
I'm gonna tell you why it was filler. So when the Netflix shows were being done, it was still under the Marvel TV division, which Feige was not in charge of. So after Endgame, and because the guys who were in charge of the TV division were kind of dropping the ball with some of their TV shows, and they had like this whole eternal fight because like all of a sudden it's like they didn't want to reference stuff for the movies anymore. Disney was like, no, we're going to give everything to Feige now. So Feige is most likely going to be in charge of that next run of Daredevil because he wasn't in charge of those.
That means we're getting more Echo, more Kingpin. Hopefully,
yes,
I mean that would be really dope. I'm excited about that.
That was my
nerd, people.
Yeah, we had just way too much, but I'm glad it's under Feige, and I think that's gonna be great.
Oh, yeah. But I want to give you, Chris, I want to thank you for coming on. Guys, this has been talking about Batman, Law's favorite stuff, because I'm happy that we got a great Batman movie because Law's been getting beaten up by DC these last few years and everything.
He's been disappointed. It's been rough.
But before we do go, well, go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
No. He's been beaten up by being a DC fan and us making him watch all these DC things, and he's just like, and then actually the story too. Because he wasn't going to watch Batman like the opening weekend, and then all the hype came in. I saw all the Facebook notifications from like people who were not critics and like like people who just like the fucking movie. And I was like, oh man, I'm getting the FOMO. I need to see this movie. All right. All right, Monday.
CBAS. I'm like, guys, when are we talking about this? Because I just watched it. We need to come.
So I hit up CBAS. I'm like, yo, we're seeing it tonight. I'm buying the ticket.
Yeah.
And then I called Law and I'm like, hey, it's last minute, but me and CBAS are seeing this movie tonight. So
So Chris, the Tone lives down the block from me. Comes in his car, kidnaps me for the night to go see the movie. I'm like, it's a good kidnapping, Enjoy the movie.
I honestly there was a little bit of a groan. I was like, all right, I'll see it. Like I was gonna see it eventually, but I didn't have the I need to see it right now energy. And then now I'm like, I'll see that movie 50,000 times. I'll see it as many times as I saw all the Nolan stuff in theaters.
I just listened to the entire soundtrack and that Batman score just playing throughout the whole movie. I'm just like humming it. I'm like, yo, this was so fucking good.
What I think they did right in that film was you have a lot of characters that don't overtake. They stuffed it, but they layered it so beautifully. Because I was very afraid of the lineup. It's intimidating because ever since Spider-Man 3, we get scared of all these people, and they balanced it beautifully. They knew who was the main villain. They knew who the support villains were, who the main hero was, support hero, vigilante. Everything. It was a very good ecosystem they built, and I look forward to what they bring in the future. My criticisms of the film only come from literally if I hadn't been a Batman super fan, I would probably be in love with the film. And I've gotten a lot of heat from people like, oh, one kid actually said to me, you don't know anything about Batman. And I said, really? Okay. We won't go there. I'm not going to argue with you. I didn't come online to argue with people. I love the film. I just would like to see what else they can do.
Right.
And I would say that about every Batman film, except Bat Nipples I loved because it was a live action cartoon. And come on, when you have Arnold Schwarzenegger walking in going, everybody chill. He gave us the one-liner.
I thoroughly enjoy Batman and Robin because of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Seriously.
Rewatch it. I don't know when's the last time you watched it. It's so corny.
Oh, that's why I love it.
That's why
I love it.
It's so bad. As a kid, I was excited.
But now
And
as
then
an adult,
With
I
the
was
puns,
like,
it's time to cool down.
Guys, chill.
Everybody chill.
right,
You
we
know,
gotta wrap because we
He's
can do
in
this for more hours.
He's in
All right.
fucking chrome and blue. It's just it's like, my biggest gripe with that entire movie is that Bane is a fucking idiot. Like I would say if I had to make a
Oh my god! Yes.
like
I'll
he's
give
just
you that.
but that's it. Like Poison Ivy is like really campy. It's all campy. It's fun.
Super campy.
All right, so
It's beautiful.
guys, for those of you who don't know, so this is Chris from Homebrewed Comics.
yes.
Created an awesome comic. Watch this episode on demand to begin to learn more. Go to the Kickstarter link, but so that you could learn more about his comic, Chris.
You can get one of these. They're on there.
Oh, we're gonna give you
Cool.
this little screen for
Yep.
one more time.
Yep.
Give you the plug.
You can add this. This is an add-on on the campaign. I did include this in issue 4 Kickstarter, and I got a lot of requests to bring them back because people were like, "Oh, I got it," but then my kid stole it. So now it's an add-on on the campaign. You can add any physical backing that you want, and then you can have your own little stuffed Samedi. He does not come with any alcohol or cigars, though, as I can't ship those. I don't have the licensing.
Oh yeah, we gotta hook you up with Favorite Raven. Maybe they could make you a homebrew beard. But anyway, this has been an awesome episode. This has been fun, guys. Thank you, Chris, for coming on. We're gonna talk more in the green room.
Thank
This
you,
has
Val,
been-
for coming back.
Val's
Yes,
always welcome
you
back.
guys already know I'm always available.
Val might be returning for Demon Slayer because we're looking to talk Demon Slayer soon.
Let's go.
Also
Yes.
too, yes, finally the recorded creator series that we did from our old creator series segments is going to start to release. There were just audio issues, syncing issues, a bunch of other stuff and everything. So the one with Sammy Castillo will launch this week. Yes, we are
Let's
sorry.
go.
But again, this has been your boy Sebastian
It's been your boy Law.
And your boy Tone from across the hall.
with Val
Yeah.
and Chris. Catch you guys on the internets playing that beautiful beam footage. I'll catch all you in the green room.